Welcome, everyone. We're having a special author's corner this morning. And no, it's not my little guest here, my little Lucky. He just happens to be needy this morning and sitting on my lap. And I think he's anxious to hear our guest, who is actually the CEO, the owner of Own It, the Own It platform, Own It X. I'll let her give you the list of what she does because it's pretty extensive, and it's Dr. Marissa Bluedome. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly because I always have trouble pronouncing people's names. So we're doing a one-on-one interview today because Marissa has a lot of insight into self-publishing, the aesthetics of publishing as far as the magazine, what covers look like on books, the creativity of things, just really the whole, what I call the elegance of that, and a lot about self-publishing because that's an area that I'm familiar with it, but not like Marissa is, because she actually has a publishing company and she could give us some of the ins and outs. And I think one of the things we all need is, how do we market our book, which is very important, and how do we do that work? So I'm going to turn it right over to Marissa. She could give her own introduction. And by the way, I'm Teresa Palmer. I've been guest hosting on the Author's Corner, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that as it is Marissa's platform. So I will let her give her own introduction here.
Oh, and I just want to say thank you for doing an excellent job. It helps when you have good help, right? So we always talk about teamwork makes the dream work, and we shared that last night when we exchanged, complimentary comments to one another last night during the meeting for Own It X. And it really feels good. And I have to say that from a truly authentic and organic place, because real good help is hard to find on the level in which you are showing up. And so it's really, really a huge relief to know that you're running things in my absence, and allowing me the opportunity that many CEOs running their own business need, that downtime and that away time from the public, so that we could get some monumental things done in the background to advance the company overall. And so it's critically important to have this kind of help. And I just can't say it enough how thankful I am and how proud I am to know that it's being the lives are going on, and they're going on with a standard of excellence. That's so important. And we did a retreat meeting yesterday. I had a list of, from 6 o'clock on, I was in meetings until 10. And 6 p.m., we had a retreat meeting for Reflect, Reframe, and Renew. And Dr. Reed is heading that up. And we talked about how strong women, when a strong woman breaks, and that's her new book. And so she shifted the gears of focusing on just not just talking about self-care, but soul repair. Why is this important? I'm saying that because this very thing here is that if I am strong, I am very, very strong. I can handle a lot, but should we do that so much that we end up breaking? And this is one of the real life examples of how do you avoid that? How do you set the balance? And you had offered and said, hey, Marissa, I got you. So if you need to continue. That's huge. It's huge. And if we go and shift the gears and talk about authorship, and I'll talk about what I do. So Own It Magazine and Publishing it came from a place of just me posting online. So I started off just posting online and just being myself, very optimistic, very spiritual, very motivational. And I would get not public messages. I would get private messages that said, Marissa, thank you so very much. Your words encouraged me. And I'm a straight shooter. And so when I say something, I say it with a lot of power, a lot of authority, and a lot of conviction. That's just me being me. It's not me trying to show up for anybody. It's just saying, you know what? They can say no all they want to. We're going to get it done. I'm going to get it done. And I have done that. And so, Own It magazine was birthed out of me just making posts online that were motivational, and it was called TOL, Thinking Out Loud. And I gathered those books. I gathered those quotes and things like that, and I actually made a 6 book volume series out of them. But the magazine birthed out of that, and because I wasn't one who took the conventional route, I just began to grab my professional friends and said, "Hey, would you like to contribute to the magazine? And would you like to contribute to the magazine?" And then, as a business person, I began to see the work that was involved in it. I also saw it. This is marketing and advertising. Magazine publishing is marketing and advertising, and I began to design ways of making revenue from the magazine, and not at a big cost, because it's cost effective to work with Own It magazine. And I do it that way because, as a business coach, I already know you have to spend a lot of money outside of just working with me to run your business. I know it. Why? Because I have to pay all of the things that I have to pay in order for me to run the business. So when people partner with me, I always make it cost effective, not selling my skills and talent short, but making it so that it's a fair deal. You walk away, and I make sure that it's comfortable for you, and you've gotten a wealth of information. I always believe that I give more than what you're paying me for, but I'm good, because when you walk away from me, I want you to be able to walk away and you be able to flourish in the way that you want to flourish, and be successful. So I rather just give it to you, and then whatever you do with it is on you. But at least I know that I did not withhold anything that would help you be fruitful, and multiply with your business. So Own It is the magazine. I do coaching, but very, very rarely. I don't do coaching in a big way. But we also have our annual retreats. We have a few this year. We have our annual retreats, which gives business owners the opportunity to become more and more polished in their public speaking. Because in order for you to sell, we're in the author's corner, in order for you to sell your book, you got to get clear on your messaging. And that's what caused me to take people and start interviewing them live, because I saw, like myself, they didn't know how to have clarity in their messaging. And because they didn't have clarity in their messaging, it came from, and you and I know this as distinguished Toastmasters, that it comes from practice. It comes from repetitive speaking and speaking and speaking, and getting
Right.
past the nervousness, or the level of nervousness that will paralyze you, right? So you want to be able to speak to the point where you're proficient in speaking. And then also too, as you continue to answer the questions, you begin to gain clarity for yourself of what you're doing, right? Because I know
Absolutely.
with me, starting out with my degrees in psychology and then in IO psychology, it was like, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to transition from the current position that I hold as a career, and transition into what I know that I'm called to do? Because I know that I am a behavioral analyst. I know that I am a person who is designed and wired to serve people in the capacity of helping them get in alignment with their life's assignment. And that means fulfillment. That means setting them free from limitations that will cause them to compromise their own happiness, compromise their own goals. And so I know I'm wired. So how do I go from that mindset of, I just need a job, and a job that's going to pay me, right? And I got the skills to do it, to the job that I was really designed by the creator, by God, to actually live and fulfill. And so I'm going to digress. So we have Own It magazine and publishing. I do a little business coaching. I do author coaching and helping people write their books and publish them. Own It has had countless. I'm not a big person on stats. We talked about that the other day,
Yeah.
too, because you talked about you said I don't like to float around my credentials. Well, remember, I'm not talking from a place of, yeah, I don't do that. Yeah, I'm like you. I don't like boasting, but we have had countless numbers of number one bestsellers that we have published, and we've the number of live interviews. I don't even know how many live interviews we've done since 2018 when we first started, but we've done a lot, and we've helped authors get visibility, and at no cost. So some of what you see we do is free. We ain't really charging folks for, because we know that it's there to help them advance, and go to the next level. So it's not always about revenue and building revenue from every different angle, but helping people. And so I'm going to digress. I know I didn't touch everything, but I'm going to digress.
That's okay. I wanted to say one thing. I am a contributing author to Own It magazine, and my work is always about the heart. And I appreciate being able to be on a platform where people do appreciate that the heart is more than a pump. That's a whole different topic in and of itself. But the aesthetics of the magazine, and not only the magazine, but the book covers. And they're just beautiful, and they're so creative. And aesthetics to me, some people will say, okay, it's the finer way of life, or whatever. But I think that it really comes down to the aesthetics of something show the love, the respect, and the care that the person puts into it. When you take the time to have a product that is so aesthetically appealing, there's so much love in it. And I'll use another example. There's a deli that opened near me. And, I thought, okay, a deli's a deli. Stop in and see what it is. Well, it was a chef from a five, what would it be? I guess 5-star restaurant in Birmingham, Alabama. And he decided to go out on his own, but he didn't want just an ordinary deli.
Mhm.
When you read why he started the deli, that everything is made with love, he takes care in each sandwich, salad, plate. And when I was in there, I was watching him because the kitchen is open, it's right in the same area. If you could have seen the care this gentleman took with the chicken, with the cheese, with the bacon, and with his special sauce, and carefully, I mean carefully, and beautifully put it on a bun, a toasted bun, made sure that it was cut properly. I ordered chips. He put the chips around it. This was a masterpiece. And I said to him, I said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." And he said, "Well, you're here. I'm here to serve you."
Amen.
And he said, "This is how I serve." He said, "I want you to enjoy this. I want you to feel good about the money that you have spent on what I'm giving you." And to me, that was just, that's what Own It does. I mean, that's what you do. When I look at the covers, every magazine and every detail, every article, it's so just creative. It's so respectful of the author, of who's writing the article.
Mhm.
And it just shows how much you really care about people. So I wanted to mention that, and also your book covers. They're beautiful. I
Thank you.
mean, they are absolutely beautiful. So my question is, where do you get that creativity from? I mean, do you think of it ahead of time? Does it come to you as somebody lays a manuscript, a book out in front of you? How do you do that? What's your
Um,
secret sauce?
Okay, my secret sauce, because I always ask that question. What's your secret sauce? And so for me, it's again, it's what I'm called to do in regards to helping people tap in. And the reason why I can say tap in, and the reason why I talk about being by yourself and that self-discovery and self-awareness is because it is a gift. Um, Many of the covers that I have used, the graphics and things for, I can actually draw. So I'm gifted in the art. So, it started off in high school. I used to actually paint our football breakthroughs. Those big by myself. I would Miss Turk with my art teacher.
Yeah.
She would give me the supplies, and I'd be in the front of Plainville High School, the main front entrance. That's by the auditorium, and I would actually be painting out there the Minutemen, and the big Cardinal, because we're the Cardinals. Plainfield High School is Cardinals. And I would paint the breakthroughs, and I would do that by myself. I would be all by myself doing that. And so what happened for me over the years is because I became a mom, they transferred from doing the painting to now decorating a home, because I bought my first home. Now I got to decorate that. So the gifting of art, the medium change. So now it's no longer paint in the sense of painting and drawing and charcoal and pencil. Now it's wallpaper. and
Yeah.
I'm putting up wallpaper, and it's setting the dining room table, and I'm doing that in my 20s. Like my 20s, I bought my first home when 26 years old. So I'm decorating. My oldest daughter was Tweety, my youngest daughter was Winnie the Pooh, and their rooms had to be themed. The artist in me was so powerful that it was going to remain. It just showed up in different forms. And you know what else? I was open to it. I did not stifle it and saying, no, I can't do that or no. And so now it manifests in the magazine because I'm evolving and getting into alignment with my true life assignment, right? And so the I also allow myself to get connected. I'm a deeply connected person. Just like you said, I love serving people. You're not going to be around me and I'm not taking good care of you. If we're together, I'm taking care of you. I'm watching the door. I'm protecting. That's my personality and that's my wiring. And I'm thankful for it. And so it allows me, because I'm so open to what God has for me, that it allows me to show up on this level. And I can remember I had a very good friend of mine, Elaine, and she said, I said, I don't understand why they don't get it. I don't understand why they. She said, Marissa, because you don't understand the level in which you operate. You don't understand. It's easy for you, but for others it's very difficult. And I have a sister that says, Marissa, everything you do everybody else doesn't want to do. So you have your people who hold you accountable to say that even though you are doing these things and even though you're gifted in this area, be mindful and conscious, which helped me to be patient and kind to others, to realize that what I'm naturally gifted at, other people need help with stepping into all of that. So you'll see me be gracious and compassionate to others, but also too you'll see me encourage them to not be afraid to come into the fullness of their own authenticity, because that's where the release of the gifting and the talent come from. And that's how you can get the purity of just how amazing you were meant to be and whatever you are skilled at doing. And so that's where that evolved from. It evolved from me. That's my gift. My gift is I can look at colors and coordinate to the T. These little backdrops we got, it's nothing for me to decorate a room like that. It's nothing for me to decorate a room like that. In fact, I don't want my home to be that big that I build in the DR, but it's definitely going to look like this scale. And so
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
that comes from. And if people would just take the time, stop trying to be other people, and don't worry about other people replicating what you do, because they can only replicate. It's not the authenticity, it's not the original. So don't be threatened when other people, it's a compliment. If somebody's doing something that you're doing or trying to do what you're doing, it's a compliment, because it's saying to you that what you've done is so good and so great that they desire to do it as well. even if they desire to be like you. It's a compliment. And it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be taken any other way. And when you know who you are, you do not have to come after people or go after people. You bless them and you say, go. And I, like I said, when I was in London, like Christ said to Judas, go and do what you got to do and do it quickly. Right? So don't be upset, because people are always going to have, people are always going to do that. But if you focus on you and you pay attention to what you do well and you start mastering that, that's a better feeling than being upset and envying someone else's stuff. It's a better feeling. You can enjoy yourself when you're not, when you don't feel like you got to compete with other people.
I definitely agree with that. And what I would like to switch into now is some things about self-publishing, because you have the publishing company, you do publish books. A lot comes across your desk in your company. And we talked about at one point, I believe marketing to me is very hard. Number one, you have to talk about yourself, promote yourself. Number two, you have to do a lot of hard work. And we had talked at one point about how a lot of people aren't willing to put in the work. And I think that is so true. And I see it so much with health and wellness in the nursing medical profession, that people want a quick fix. They want things that
Mhm.
just give me that this pill, this shot, this thing. And they don't really realize it's difficult to tell people that they really need to do the work in order to have lasting change, to be able to do things and in your life. And I think it's so important with the self-publishing that it's not just a matter of, okay, here's my manuscript, I upload it to a certain platform or to Amazon, and boom, I'm done. That's not it, because I think the work starts once you actually
Yep.
have that published piece. So I would like to get your insights on that and the pearls that you have regarding self-publishing, about people doing the work, about how they should be doing the work. What should we as authors be doing?
Yeah, yeah. Care about your work. So you when you started, you talked about all the care that the chef put into preparing. Have respect for your work. I think that's my mom used to say, and I'm going to say it exactly how she said it. She said, Marissa Lizette, never do a half-assed job. If you're going to do it 100%, right? Don't do stuff. And she's been gone many years, but that stays in my head every time I'm ready to take a shortcut. Every time I'm ready to do something, because you just get busy and you're just like, okay, I just need to get this done. And the best thing to do is just do it the right way. Have respect for the work that you're going to do. Just like you said, I've seen many things come across my desk. And I'm more of a do whatever I'm like my daddy, sovereignty. I'm not making you do anything. If you don't want to do it, my children will tell you, I'm not going to fight with you to do it. This represents you. And if you're okay with it, then you better own it, because it's gone out there and it's got your name on it. I say just have respect, because when you have respect for your work, people will value you. I used to wonder why, top level people would get frustrated when someone would ask a question that, that wasn't, you could tell they didn't know who they were standing in front of. And I used to say, well, why would they, get mad with the people? They're just asking questions. Well, guess what? You're showing me that you don't have any respect for me if you didn't do your homework and you're standing in front of me talking to me. So now I have a different perspective in regards to that. If I see you come, I have no respect for you. If I'm looking at your work and I can see that you didn't put in the work, and not when, because I have clients that come, Marissa, I know this is a mess. They come and let me know. They're like, Marissa, I know this is a mess. You got to put it together, blah, blah, blah. So they're being honest. But
Yeah.
people that throw stuff together and you're evaluating it and you're looking at it and you're saying, why would you? I wouldn't give this to anyone. I would not give this to anyone. Value your work. That's one. Also, too, if you come into an expert, be open to the expert. If the expert is saying to you, I wouldn't go with this cover, or I wouldn't go, this is the better format. Also, too, I'm a projector. So I project out into the future. I don't look at something and just say, it's got to be time transcending. Why? Because you don't want to have to go back into the work and make it and bring it back up or bring it up. You want to have covers, you want to have content that will last for a lifetime, right? That'll be relevant for a lifetime. And so you want to take that into consideration when you're writing as well. And then also, too, just like you said, the real work starts after the publishing. And I say be strategic and intentional. So, in the meeting last night, when I got a chance to speak with the speakers, you were there. I said to them, I said, don't, when you come, be prepared, have an agenda. When you're publishing on a book, what's your agenda? Because your agenda is going to set the tone with whatever you're going to do next. You should be having that already set up. So for me, publishing a book is just not about publishing a book. What are you going to do? Are you going to teach what the book is talking about? Because that's revenue. And even if you're advocating, you still need money, because even in advocacy, you got to travel to these different places to talk about and advocate for what you're talking about. So make
Right.
that make sense. You're going to have revenue. So you need to have, so it's 2026. Now, if I still was in the United States, I would be planning multiple events around my book. And also too, and if you've heard me on the author's corner over and over again, you got to make people pay for the book before they even get to the event. So have a prepay event. That's what I recommend. And create your own event. Take center stage is about you taking center stage and owning it for yourself. Stop waiting to be invited. Create an event around your topic. Create and gather people who are concerned about what it is that you're talking about. Then have a message that gets them to, that's engaging. And then it's, what's your next? So are you a coach? So if you are a coach, you want to make sure that you have an event that people are interested in the topic that you're talking about, and perhaps they need coaching as it relates to that. Because what's next after the event is over? The event is over. Now you sold your books, but you don't got nothing else. You have no continual, right? So you want to have a continual in something that is going to either open up the door for a further revenue for you, or you want to have something that's going to open the door for you to now have another event. That's the conversations that while your event is going on, that you should be having, and you should have your mind in that mindset that says, okay, I'm here, but I need to be on point with whatever connections I need to make. Look at the room, write down a list of the individuals. If someone is talking, so say you're at an event, you're on a panel, and someone is talking about something that, oh, wait a minute, I can connect with this person. Write down that person's name, write down what triggered you, what got you interested, and why you feel like you can connect with them. Write that down right then while it's fresh in your mind, because later on, you're going to be like, well, why did I write that down? Who was that? Blah, 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 blah. So want to write that down. So I am always one who has note, paper, pad, whatever, always within my reach, so that if I need to take notes, because I'm open for revelation, I'm open for knowledge, I'm open for strategy, because that's what I'm asking God in prayer. Show me the plan and the strategy. Jeremiah 29:11 says, you know the plans you have for me, but I need to know those plans. And so that's how I think. I don't think just, oh, that's so wonderful, God knows the plans. No, Daddy, you need to tell me what those plans are, because I'm here on earth and I need to carry them out, right? So I need to know. So I always have a pad and pen, and I'm always thinking and I'm watching. Like I said, I'm a people person. I am watching the room. I'm watching the room when we're in interviews like this. I'm watching the rooms when I'm in my Zoom meetings. I'm watching, see who's looking at me, what's their response to me, because I'm looking for connectivity. I'm making connections because I'm thinking about what's next. I'm thinking about maximizing this present moment, and I'm thinking about what's next. And that's how I stay conscious. And that's why that alone time is critically important, because your alone time allows you to focus on your agenda without interruption. Because once revelation is flowing, you don't want to interrupt it, because if it's interrupted, you don't get the full download. You must have the full download. That's why it is imperative for us to have that quiet time and that resolve time, that reflective time, that, like we said yesterday, assessing, addressing, and moving forward. We got to have that, or otherwise we'll be haywire. And just like Dr. Reed's book says, when a strong woman breaks, because you're not recognizing the importance of something as simple as be by yourself for a minute. But I think that in that little nutshell, I gave a lot of tips on authors, what they could do after their books publish, and many ways for them to actually generate revenue. Have people pay for your books in advance. When it comes to an event, and you're the one who's in control of the event, you want to have, if it's a dinner that you're offering, give them a ticket. Give them a ticket event, a ticketed event, and that's what will help with ensuring that you're not at an event and hoping that your book sells. You're at the event and your book has already sold. Follow me?
Mm, yes, I do. And
Yeah.
we're going to go a little overtime here because this is so interesting. So I hope you have the time to spend a little bit more with
Yes.
us. Good. One thing that I don't understand well uh, is when there's the Amazon bestseller campaign. And I know you've been involved with these things and you have some insight. So, when there's an Amazon bestseller campaign, you had mentioned there's two things that I'm not that clear about. One is you said the positioning of the book on Amazon. Okay,
Hmm.
to me, that's right now, that's kind of Greek. To me, you put it up on Amazon and that's where it is. And the second thing is when you do a campaign, and I was involved with a book that did this. Their campaign was they gave the book for free, like an ebook. They gave the book for free to get people to, I guess, read the book, review the book, and then to, well, how did it work? They must have had to buy the book for a penny or something because it was
Right.
book sale. So I think it was like a penny for the book. And you reviewed the book and it made the bestseller.
Right.
So I never understood like what what are the logistics? Why is that done? And then how does it benefit the author, not only at that moment, but in the long run? If you could address those two things, that would be
Okay.
great.
So, well, first of all, it's very impressive. So the achievement of getting a bestseller is just, if you're having someone come and to be a keynote or speak at an event, it's nothing like having them introduced or knowing that they're a bestseller, right? So that's it's the prestige that comes with it. Now, positioning the book is all about just that. It's positioning the book, and it's based on the content of the book. So, whether it's in the women's category, the religious category, education, health, it really just depends on the keywords that you're putting in, how you're categorizing it and subcategorizing it. That's critically important. And that's what, above all, that really positions you with your bestseller status, because you can have a bunch of people buy the book, but if it's not positioned well, it's
Mm.
not going to make the bestseller. The bestseller is all about positioning the book with its categories. It's a combination of variables that actually gets it bestseller. And I wasn't even, let me tell you something. I was not into publishing other books. That was not my agenda. I had already published. By the time I started publishing other people, I was already, I think, 13 books into publishing my own books. And
Wow.
so when people heard that that's how many books I had published, that's when some of them became like, oh, Marissa, we're in trouble with our publisher. Can you help me? So it really came out of crisis. And I wasn't knowledgeable. This is not the knowledge that I have is not trained knowledge. The knowledge that I have is from experience because someone had a need. And remember, I told you earlier that, you know what? We're going to make this happen, right? We're going to get this thing done. And I have a good friend of me. He prayed over me what's called the finisher's anointing. And when I mentioned it to him, maybe a couple of years ago, he said, I don't remember doing that. I say, oh, yeah, you did. You prayed for me. And he said the finisher's anointing. And that always things that I allow for myself to remember the things that will help me through during a trial or a challenging time. I don't want to say dark times because I don't know if I've ever experienced a dark time, but challenging times. And that was one of the things. It was like, oh my God, this finisher's anointing. That's right. And so I helped the first few people who were doing anthologies. And that's how I got into anthologies too, that they were trying to get these anthologies to the finish line. And I knew how to format. So all of my books, I don't go to Fiverr. None of this work is done by Fiverr or any other company. The only book that I had to have uh, um, reformatted is Own It, Own It Unapologetic. And the reason why is because I was traveling to Dubai and I'm in Dubai and I thought that I could use their computer. You know how you go to the hotel and you use the
Yeah.
computer? Well, their computer, I don't know, it did not have Word on it. Like it didn't have anything like beautiful hotel, but it did not. I could not do the work that I needed to do there. So I did have to have a gentleman in Fiverr get that book to the finish line. It was already formatted, but I had to do some tweaking, and I wasn't able to do it because I was in Dubai. But other than that, every cover, every all the content, I do all of that formatting. Everything associated with the magazine, I do all of that formatting myself. And so, with that being said, helping them to the finish line with their anthologies and getting them done, that's what opened the door for me to now. This is many years ago, but now begin to publish other books. And it was beautiful because it was at a time where I needed another stream of revenue coming in. And it really, really worked out. And this is the key about if you talk about leveling up, you better be open to the opportunities. You can't sit and say, "No, I'm not going to do that." Well, then don't do it and stay at your full-time job and do whatever. But when you're open to learning these skill sets, it just opens the door. I don't have to rely. So if something happens, I don't have to rely on somebody else. If someone has if someone's designing your cover and designing your stuff, you're stuck. If they mess you over, you're stuck. I don't have that issue. I don't have that issue because I learned the skills, and I always say too, I thank God that I started from the bottom because my administrative background and I type 120 words per minute. I love Word, proficient in all of that. It's helped me as a CEO uh, show up more powerfully because I do have those skills. I don't have to always delegate and wait and hope that someone gets my vision. I can actually bring that vision together myself. And so, but that's where that evolved from. The book publishing evolved from helping others and being pulled in. I wasn't looking for it. It came looking for me. And I just thank God that I was able to help them get to the finish line. And then this is what my point was. And then I'll digress. It's funny because I was only supposed to be designing the cover, finishing the formatting. Now all of a sudden I got to get them to bestseller. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't even know anything about bestseller because my 13 books were not bestsellers. I just was like happy that I could self-publish. So the next thing I know, I'm now responsible for categorize. I didn't know anything about categorizing. I did not know about subcategorizing. I did not know anything. And the beautiful thing about my master's degree and my writing and all that research you have to do at the doctoral level, thank God, because if I did not have that knowledge, I wouldn't know how to categorize this stuff. I would have been like, what? Like a deer in headlights. But because of my writing skills as a grad student, and because I'm optimistic and artistic, because of all of that, I was able to get them to bestseller without even knowing what the heck I was doing
That's
initially.
impressive. I
Yeah.
like that. That's so impressive. So there's
Mhm.
hope for me.
Yes, there is hope for you, Teresa. There's hope for you.
So is there any last words that you have before we close out here? Anything that I missed that you think is important for our viewing audience to know from this interview?
Well, thank you for spotlighting me. I just really appreciate it. I don't know when the last time I've been interviewed. I've always been doing the interviews, and so I think that this needs to be a continued conversation of empowerment for authors. We are actually beginning the authors forum. That's another email I got to send out. We're going to have the authors forum where some of our meetings will be Zoom meetings, and then some of them will go live and have these kind of conversations just to help, and just be accountability and support to the world of authors. And I don't like Facebook groups so much, so I don't have Facebook. I have Facebook groups, but I don't treat them
Mm,
like groups. I like Zoom meetings because I feel like we can really connect and have some private conversations. And then those people who want to go live, we can have some live conversations. So we will be starting the Authors Forum, which will be Zoom meetings. And then periodically, the forum will kind of spill over and we'll do some lives like this and get some visibility for our authors. But the biggest thing is that you have to have a plan it just depends on your agenda or your what it is that you desire to do. So if you desire to build revenue from your published book, then you're going to have to become that subject matter expert if you're not already on what you wrote. And then as a subject matter expert, you're going to have to decide, do I want to do a workshop? Do I want to coach? How do I want to be that influence, that advocate, that voice for what I've written about? So you have to figure that out, and then you have to be willing to do the work. I remember a young lady was sharing with me about some work that she wanted to do with the veterans, and I said, well, you got to lead that. And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. You want the glory, but you don't want the work of the story, right? Right. So you got to be willing to kind of do the work too. You got to own that you've been called and purpose for this, and then you gotta answer the call, and be willing to do the work. And I believe that a lot of times, I'll leave with this. A lot of times we're unhappy because we know that we're meant to do something. We just don't want to do it, and as a result of not doing it, you feel lost because you're out of alignment. Just try to drive a car. Like, you ever drive a car and you know that it's alignment? Because I like to park, and I park very well. And so when I see that the wheel is not where if I'm parking and the steering wheel is this way, and I get out and I see the wheels of the car is in a different way, I'm not happy like that. And so when you're out of alignment with your purpose in your life and the things that you were designed and wired to do, you're frustrated because you're living outside of what your real authenticity. And even if that authenticity at the moment doesn't feel right, trust me, when you rest and how you were wired and designed, it'll begin to feel good. You'll have those aha moments like, man, I wish I would have did this sooner. Um, Instead of showing up in life the way that society says we should show up. Like, I've had many people say, oh, you should work for someone. No, because every time I go into a meeting and I see the way that they're doing things, it's not that I don't want to be a team player. I just feel like they can be done better, and my voice is not valued at that table. And so as a result, I do need to work for myself, because I know that the things that I see and the things that are driving me to a place of excellence, I can actually do them without having to negotiate or compromise on my values. And so just want to say the beginning is to be authentic to yourself, and then be willing to do the work and have an agenda.
Mhm. Thank you so much. I think that's a great way to end. As authors, number one, we have to have a message. Like you said, be clear on what your agenda is before you even go to write. And
Hmm.
number two is to do the work, because that work is so important. And it's really up to us. It really is up to
Yes.
each of us to do the work and to really show up. And
Yeah.
that's one thing I love about, this platform, is the authors have the opportunity to show up, to talk about not only their books, but also to talk about inspiration for other people, how they
Right.
did something, how somebody else could benefit from what was done. So, again, I thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
And you and I could probably talk all day. And so, if we had all day, we could talk and people could listen to us. We did go over, and I appreciate the viewers hanging in
Yes.
there with us, because I just thought this was so important. You had so much information that I knew it wasn't going to get into a half an hour.
Yes.
I knew there was no way that all that was going to get into a half an hour, and I wanted to address everything because I think that the insight you have is so important for other authors, from the publishing end, from the writing end, from all that, from the discipline end. So I'm glad that we got to do this. And
Yes.
I thank you so much for this interview. And I don't have any other final words, so I'm going to take us out.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.